tonight. After a rough spring with assaults on Saskatoon city buses, we check in with Transit to find out how it is making things safer for riders. Also, the search continues for a new permanent shelter space in Regina after City Council rejects a deal to buy property just outside of downtown. Plus, ahead of the coming verdict, we look back at the turbulent case against Greg Fertuck, accused of killing his wife years ago.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Thursday, June 13th, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Good evening and thank you for watching. The amount of violence on Saskatoon buses lately is worrying passengers and drivers. It's also highlighting bigger societal issues major cities are dealing with, things like mental health and addictions. As Dan Zakreski reports, the city of Saskatoon is trying to figure out what it can do.
What's happening on city buses?
Assaults are happening daily, and the severity of the assaults and the violence is out of hand.
Violence isn't happening on all Saskatoon buses all the time, but it's been a rough spring, even with enhanced security. 4 major assaults last month. Darcy Peterson is head of the bus union and says lots more go unreported. He says 2 routes in particular are hot spots for trouble. One of them is the number 2. It circles from downtown to Confederation Mall. Femi Serrano won't take it.
Unfortunately, you see people that have mental health problems, substance use on buses and all that. So I don't like being around that space.
Violence on buses is not just a problem here.
What's happening here in Saskatoon is being replicated right across the country.
John Donino says issues like homelessness, addiction, and mental health play out on buses across Canada.
All of these things are segueing and intersecting with public transit.
And this is going to keep happening as long as we have those larger social issues. And until we come to grips with that, riders could take their transit safety tips from 16-year-old Chloe Barron.
Just kind of stay quiet, stay to yourself, and if someone's like, I don't know, kind of sketchy looking, just steer clear of them and try not to provoke them in any way.
Dan Zakreski, CBC News, Saskatoon.
So what's next? Well, Saskatoon Transit is taking measures to keep its customers and frontline employees safe. There will be increased security at some terminals. Employees are also getting new customer service and de-escalation training. And Transit is advocating for tougher sentences for those who assault their employees. The Saskatoon Transit Operations Manager says they're exploring more, too.
We've increased our safety patrols with our commissionaires, so there's increased security patrols through our downtown terminal, Confederation Terminal, as well as Market Mall. In addition to that, we have our fire community support officers. They'll be launching here in July. So there's going to be an increase in uniform presence through our building, through our facilities, and on our routes.
Saskatoon Transit says it's also considering installing security cameras at 2 terminals, plus developing a process that allows problem customers to be banned. The city of Regina will continue to search for where it will put a permanent emergency shelter. Last night, City Council had to make a decision on buying a property. Alexander Kwan brings us the latest from what was a heated meeting.
Regina has a homelessness problem, and after 3 years of searching through 35 properties, city staff made one recommendation: build a 55-bed permanent emergency shelter here on Albert Street in Regina, just steps away from a soon-to-open urgent care center and along a major bus route. As Regina's city manager put it,
and this is as good as it's going to get.
After a 7-hour debate on Wednesday, a majority of councillors told city staff to keep looking, raising concerns over safety and lowering property values. That left some councillors frustrated.
I think we look collectively like a bunch of morons. If we had a book about this council's approach to homelessness, it would be called Thoughts and Prayers.
The lease on a temporary 55-bed shelter at the Nest Health Center will expire next summer, and city staff warned this decision will leave 55 people in a tough spot. Mayor Sandra Masters was asked if she thinks the city is doing enough to address homelessness.
I'm going to stop you right there. I reject the premise of even your opening.
Masters pointed to the nearly $10 million spent by the city last year as proof of commitment. Meanwhile, city administration is back on the hunt for a location. The next status report is scheduled for October. But there's a civic election later this year, and city staff have made it clear these current elected officials won't be the ones making the final decision on the shelter. Alexander Kwan, CBC News, Regina.
Dress for Success Regina has entered a new era. Since 2008, the nonprofit has worked to help women and non-binary people gain economic independence by finding jobs. The organization provides professional clothes, shoes, and accessories for free. And now it's moved to a bigger and better location to keep up with demand.
Women understand the power of clothing.
Women leave here not just with a bag of clothes, but they leave here with a new kind of confidence and a new idea of what they can do. And we want people, when they go to an interview or when they go to a workplace, to just not have to worry about what they're wearing because they've got some things in their closet. We're really excited about this location. We loved our relationship with Westminster United Church. They were very good to us. We hope we were good tenants. But the reality was that the location was not accessible. We were up 3 flights of stairs and with no elevator, and so it meant that there were clients that we couldn't serve, and there were also volunteers that would have a difficulty volunteering.
Our volunteers say, I have never had a bad suiting. People come, they're so grateful. They just, you can tell like that our clients, what's happening to them, like they're happy at the end. You could see their shoulders back, they look confident. It's just a great experience. And people, you know, if you're retired or you want to volunteer, you want to do something where you feel really good about it. So yeah, I think it's a great volunteer experience for people. Right now we have about 160 clients a year. So we can only grow as much in terms of how many volunteers we have that are trained to do the suiting properly. So yeah, we're looking at ways of how can we maybe double that and serve more people.
As the Saskatchewan Roughriders prepare for a road trip to Hamilton this weekend, the head coach says he is expecting a cleaner game. In last week's win over the Elks, 3 of Saskatchewan's 6 penalties came at the conclusion of a play after a whistle.
I'm trying to find a better word than to cuss, you know, but it's BS. We've talked about it constantly. We talked about it heavily. And, you know, there's consequences to that. But it's got to stop because we got lucky to win a game, you know, with things like that happening and the situations that they did. We don't want to make the game harder than it is.
May says he did sit down and talk with O-lineman Logan Ferland. The 27-year-old was fined for what the CFL called a non-football act for punching Elks defensive back Leon O'Neill Jr. Ferland was ejected from the game for it, and May says Ferland took full accountability, which is what he expects from everyone. The team leaves Saturday for Sunday's game against the Ticats. SGI is teaming up with the Roughriders to remind fans to find a safe ride to and from Mosaic Stadium. You'll notice the messaging in and around the stadium before and during games. And each home game, a new SGI Safe Ride champion will be crowned. It's for season ticket holders from out of town who plan a safe ride to and from the game. That winner will receive a prize pack and be recognized on the Jumbotron. We'll be back after the break. Welcome back. Students from an Ottawa elementary school got a chance this week to crawl and walk over a huge 88 square meter map of Canada. It's a collaboration between Parks Canada and Canadian Geographic. As Sandra Abma tells us, it's a massive teaching tool that lets kids learn more about national parks.
From coast to coast to coast, grade 6 kids help to unfurl a giant floor map of Canada, designed to take students on a walk through the country's national parks. 88 square meters of geography, waterways, parkland, and historical sites for students to discover underfoot.
We hope that this map is going to inspire kids to learn more about our natural and cultural places and get up close and personal to everything that is Canada.
I want you to go to another side of the map and find me one historic place.
Parks Canada and Canadian Geographic have produced 5 copies of the big map. Teachers across the country will be able to reserve one next September for delivery to their classrooms.
The kit will come with the map itself, a teacher's guide with about 7 different lesson plans that explore different aspects of Canadian geography. It also comes with ropes and pylons that students can use to interact with the map.
A trip to far reaches of the country that doesn't require a plane ticket. Have you ever seen a map like this before?
No. I think it's really cool. I get to see Canada in a lot more detail, sort of as I did before. I didn't really realize that there was this much.
Here we can see the wild spaces where the provinces, territories, every border, and I think it's really nice.
From one ocean to the other?
Yeah, it feels like I'm teleporting.
Sandra Abma, CBC News, Ottawa.
The weather update is brought to you by Capital GMC Buick Cadillac. New truck trade-up is on now.
And our weather specialist Tyreek Reed joins me now with a look at the forecast. A vast country with vastly different weather, but we also experienced that in Saskatchewan. When I left at lunch today, it was sunny, hot, and raining.
Exactly. You know, you're kind of just getting everything. You don't really know what you're going to be prepared for, if you're prepared at all. We saw that rainfall here in Regina, like you just mentioned, Sam. I was actually on my lunch break as well, and it caught me by surprise a little bit, even though I am the weather specialist. That has since moved on, though, but we are still tracking that low pressure system that's still bringing scattered showers throughout most of south and central Saskatchewan, with the potential of thunderstorms there as well, but that will continue to move out throughout the evening ahead. Looking at temperatures, we're still getting a little bit of everything in the north, well below seasonal for our friends there. And as we head down into south and central Saskatchewan, a little bit of the same thing. We're seeing temperatures at seasonal in some areas, but then as we start to head in more central areas of the region, that's when we start to see temperatures near 14 in Prince Albert and 15 in Meadow Lake. So not quite at seasonal, well below seasonal. We want to be around 23 degrees for this time of the year. Now, of course, this is all because of cooler air that is coming in from the north. And as we look at the atmosphere here, as we go on throughout the days ahead, we're going to start to feel that cooler air move back in. So we're actually going to see temperatures quite below seasonal as well for the days ahead. So not really looking like summer, even though we are a week away. As we look at this system, though, that we are tracking, that's going to begin to move out. As we head into the overnight, we're looking at these scattered showers here in the north. That's going to make way for another system of rain for our friends there. That's going to develop into thunderstorms in some areas, so we'll keep an eye out for that. That's going to stick with us as we head into Saturday as well. Also looking at Saturday, we do have the potential to see some showers in southern Saskatchewan, like right here in Regina. And as we head into Sunday, more rain for central areas of the province with some thunderstorms there as well. Now, looking at all of this rain that we keep talking about, we're going to start to see the highest amounts of accumulation in central and northern areas of the province, with a few millimeters down in southern parts of Saskatchewan. So yeah, lots of rainy weather ahead, but you know, we didn't have to put up with too much wind today as well. The wind speeds were quite low, and as we head into Saturday, they're going to remain quite low as well. So if you are going to head outside, you won't have to hold on to your hats too much. But as we head into Sunday, that's when they begin to pick up as well. Now, looking at our 7-day forecast, you know, we are seeing temperatures above seasonal on Friday and Saturday, but as we head into the week ahead, that's when we start to feel that cooler air come back in. As we talked about earlier, we're seeing daytime highs around 16 degrees on Monday and Tuesday with a chance of rain. But if you are going to be heading out on Sunday for Father's Day, you are going to be met with lots of sunshine here in Regina with a daytime high of 20 degrees. And in Saskatoon as well, a very similar picture for our friends over there. Cooler temperatures for the week ahead, but you know, warmer temperatures tomorrow, Sam. So like I said before, mix of everything.
I just had to control myself from booing you.
I'm so sorry. You
fill
can
in
do
for
it right
Ethan
now.
And
Please,
you give
go
me cold
for it.
weather.
So sorry, Sam.
Thanks, Ty.
No problem.
Oh, that's a nope. That's extreme athlete Roland Brunbauer flinging himself off a giant Ferris wheel in Vienna. The paraglider says it took a year to calculate the wind conditions for the flight off the 65-meter tall wheel and to prepare for flying in the city with the landing zone close to busy roads. Looks like it did pay off. We'll be back after the break. Tomorrow is a day of reckoning for Greg Fertuck. He's been on trial for killing his estranged wife, Sherry, who went missing in 2015 without a trace. The trial has been underway since 2021, with many twists and turns, a confession, and a Mr. Big Sting. Kendall Latimer has a look back and to what's next.
A high-profile murder case is in its final chapter, 8 long years after the disappearance of a mother of 3. What begins as a missing person search for Sherry Fertuck turns into a complex murder investigation that relies on an undercover police operation. Police can't find her body or a murder weapon, but they do get a confession from their suspect, so the case goes to trial. Now a judge is finally ready to share his decision. So, how did we get here, and why did it take so long? At the time of the disappearance, Sherry is 51 years old and spends most of her time working in a rural gravel pit. She drives a semi hauling crushed rock, and she's a woman of routine. But then everything changes. After a family lunch in December of 2015, Sherry heads back to the pit for work. She has plans that night, but she never shows up. Her semi is found abandoned in the pit with her keys, coat, and phone still inside. Some people wonder if she wandered off, or maybe she was abducted. Dozens of community members search for her, and Sherry's mom holds on to hope that she will come home.
Her number one priority was her children and her one and only grandchild, and we miss her so much.
But Sherry doesn't come home. A few months later, police label this case a homicide. Greg Fertuck is a prime suspect. He's Sherry's estranged husband, and he's been to court before for assaulting Sherry and threatening to kill her. Before she went missing, they were trying to settle their divorce, but they were stuck on money issues. Years pass and no charges are laid, but as it turns out, the case isn't cold. Police are planning an elaborate undercover sting, and Greg takes the bait. The sting goes on for about 10 months. It involves fake jobs, fake crimes, paid trips, parties, and poker games. And then in 2019, a confession to the people Greg thinks are his friends. They're all cops. The confession comes after Greg's colleagues confront him, saying they know he's in trouble with the police. They say if he's honest about what happened to Sherry, they can help him get the cops off his back once and for all. But he shouldn't take credit for something he didn't do. Greg tells the boss he did kill Sherry and explains several times how he did it. It's all caught on tape. He says he waited for Sherry at the gravel pit with a loaded gun, and they argued about money. He says he shot her twice, then got rid of her body and the gun in 2 different locations. Greg helps his friends, the undercover cops, search for them afterwards, but they don't find anything. And in 2019, 4 years after this suspected killing, Greg is arrested and charged with murder. Greg swears he's innocent and made up his confession. He's been in jail ever since.
Well, when I get out, I'm going to sue. I'm going to sue big time. Yeah, because this is, being stuck into a 21 hours a day into a 6x10 dog kennel for 1,400 days for nothing. I've owned dogs my whole life, and I would never ever do that to my own dog. Never. It would be more humane for them to just take me out and shoot me than what they did to me.
His trial starts in 2021, months late because of the pandemic, but it's only supposed to take a few months. Then those months become years. The Crown's case is extremely complex. There are mountains of evidence to go through. And then there's a major twist. A rural couple stumbles upon a gun that was tucked away under a grain bin. Police send it off for analysis. The prosecutors say it's the murder weapon they've been searching for. It matches Greg's description of the gun, and a gun expert says it matches the only bullet casings found at the gravel pit after Sherry's disappearance. Then another twist. Greg's legal team withdraws from the case, and he decides to represent himself in court, which slows the entire process down. Finally, in 2023, the case takes a huge leap forward. The judge makes a major ruling. He says that he will consider Greg's confession when it comes time to make the trial decision. Undercover stings are controversial. They rely on trickery and manipulation, and in the past, police have crossed the line or abused their power. So, evidence from these investigations isn't automatically allowed in as evidence. But in this case,
a Saskatoon judge says undercover RCMP officers did everything by the book when they got Greg Fertuck to admit that he killed his wife Sherry back in 2015. The cops posed as criminals in something that's known as a Mr. Big Sting.
the prosecutors and Greg make their final arguments in February 2024. Now in June, the judge will deliver his verdict, 5 years after Greg's arrest and 8.5 years after Sherry vanished. Kendall Latimer, CBC News, Saskatoon.
And Tyreek is back with one last look at your weather.
Thanks, Sam. Yes, so feeling those seasonal temperatures tonight here in Regina with much clearer skies. As we wake up tomorrow morning, we're going to feel temperatures around 16 degrees, but mainly sunny skies. Very huge difference from today. And of course, as we head further into the afternoon, getting closer to that daytime high of 25 degrees with a mix of sun and cloud. And over in Saskatoon as well, also seeing seasonal temperatures tonight with mainly clear skies as this system of rain moves out. Waking up tomorrow morning, seeing those temperatures around 15 degrees, mainly sunny skies as well. And heading into the afternoon in Saskatoon, getting closer and closer to that daytime high of 25 degrees as well, Sam.
That's some pretty nice nuts. I won't complain about that.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Sam.
Thanks, Ty.
No problem.
And that's it for us tonight. For news anytime, you can always head to cbc.ca/sask. You can subscribe to the CBC Saskatchewan YouTube channel or get the CBC News app on your phone. Thanks for watching. Have a great night.